Elaine Cobbe is in Paris outside a memorial to the victims of Friday's deadly terror attacks. Elaine, what is the latest that you're hearing?
The mood here is still one of tears and memories of what happened on Friday, but also people a little more on edge after what happened last night in Saint-Denis. People are saying, you know, we want life to be normal, we'd like to get back to normal, but we're not really sure it will be ever again. And so while there are schools open here in Paris, they are closed in Saint-Denis. Also, the universities there are closed. The metro line that runs from Paris to Saint-Denis is not stopping at the stations up there. And people were told, don't go into work today if you work in Saint-Denis. So this new normal here is just not what it used to be before.
I'm wondering how people are feeling in general about the politicians and the police activity. Was there a sense of relief that it looks like the investigation is particularly robust, or a sense of anxiety when you think about all the gunfire and the explosions and the fact that, you know, at least one of the people that they attempted to arrest had a suicide vest on and blew herself up?
The suicide vest is something that's definitely worrying people here. It's the first time this has happened on French soil, and there's always been this sense that Europeans wouldn't do that. And now it's very clear that yes, they will. And if you get terrorists who are happy to kill themselves, then it's so much harder to stop them, because really, they have nothing to lose. And that's something that people here are very aware of. Paris is no stranger to terrorist attacks, unfortunately. But this time, people are very conscious of how random, in a way, these places were. They weren't randomly chosen, but they're random to Parisians because they were restaurants and cafes, a concert hall, a football stadium, people going about their lives on a Friday night. And President Hollande referred to that again today, saying, you know, it was attacking young people of France. And so they are concerned about going about their daily lives, and parents are very concerned about their children, about their safety, but also how to explain it. One person said to me, my son wanted to know, why that restaurant? What did they do wrong? And she said to me, I have no idea what to say, because, you know, it was random. How do you explain to a child that they didn't care who they hit, so long as they hit somebody?
Incredibly difficult conversations. Elaine, I want to ask you about Saint-Denis. What can you tell us about that particular community? Has there been a history of radicalism associated with Saint-Denis?
Yes, Saint-Denis is a suburban town just north of Paris. It's still on the metro line. It's an ancient town. It's the kings of France are buried there. But in recent years, it's much more known for the high immigrant population and very high unemployment, particularly of young men. And it was the flashpoint for those riots in 2005 that then spread across the suburbs of Paris.
All right, and as far as we know, though, has there been a connection that authorities, a history there of radical extremism? Because I think about the community in Brussels, you know, Molenbeek, which is someplace that a lot of, you know, people who were associated with plots, both foiled plots and plots that were actually carried out, spent some time there in that neighborhood. Does Saint-Denis have that kind of a reputation?
Right. And I think also, you know, when you recall what occurred after the Charlie Hebdo attacks, there was a lot of conversations or a lot of talk about these no-go zones outside of Paris, where police just didn't really enter into, where petty crimes were left not uninvestigated because police preferred to stay on the outskirts.
Well, Saint-Denis itself is quite a large town, and where the operations took place this morning was right in the center. That's absolutely not a no-go zone. There are projects around Saint-Denis where the police and the emergency services are absolutely not welcome, and that is true. They are, you know, there are guys who tour around on motorbikes and tell anyone that there are strangers coming in, and they really rule themselves. But it's an area that's had some links to jihadism, but not that much in recent times. Charlie Hebdo attacks, for example, it was far more the eastern suburbs where they were finding people were staying, had links or had picked up cars there. But Saint-Denis, just because it is a large area and with a very high immigrant population, and particularly, as I said, of disaffected young men, it's certainly the kind of place where they would look to see, will there be some radicalization there? Is there a possibility that they would get involved? And you know, it's an inner suburb of Paris, and it's just north of the city. So if there were, for example, Salah Abdeslam, who went straight to Belgium, you know, it's on the road, if you will, if they were trying to head north.
All right, Elaine Cobbe in Paris. Thanks a lot, Elaine. We'll be checking in with you later, I'm sure.